Hey everybody, Pete here with the Geekiverse here. My boy Josiah, Leroy, Trevor, White. We're going to talk a little bit about Doctor Strange. Just a little bit about one topic in Doctor Strange. One of the things that I was
disappointed? Underwhelmed?
Underwhelmed. I was whelmed. I was whelmed by is the graphics, the visual elements of Doctor Strange were in some cases quite good. In other cases, I thought that they were quite bad.
Agreed. I think it was ambitious, and I appreciate that. I think in some cases it was stunning. In certain cases, it looked almost like Star Wars prequel era. Very cheesy. Very meh. And you compared it to Ant-Man in some cases.
Yeah, that was the thing that I wanted to talk about. The place that let's start with the bad.
Okay.
The bad to me was the whole dark dimension.
Yeah.
Looked amateurish. It was like, hey, let's throw as much color on the thing as we possibly can. There was those kind of like weird colored floating pods in there that looked kind of like intergalactic dust mites or something.
I thought the same thing, because I remember actually sitting there and in one of these scenes looking at it and thinking, this already looks outdated. How am I going to look at this in a few years? It looks like it was just, I don't know.
And it was, I don't know. To me, it was like they got a new intern who figured out this one element of the animation program or whatever, so he used the crap out of it.
And it was preset, though.
Yeah, and it just, there was these blobs floating in the colors and stuff like that. There was just the weird colored clouds and stuff. The images that we're looking on the screen, you'll see in the video as we go. This one kind of, it was like the attack of the cotton candy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
sci-fi Willy Wonka.
Yeah. Because on top of it, like, there was so much darkness in it.
Yeah.
And then
it was a tough contrast.
And then, like, throw all these wild colors in there. It was psychedelic to a certain extent. You know?
And a lot of it seemed almost like too abstract. And that's the problem with like a comic book movie, is when you start getting into like different dimensions. Not every dimension is going to look the same as like our regular dimension, but I think with this movie, especially towards the end with the dark dimension and like you said, all those different like floating orbs and stuff, everything was just like super, super abstract. And I don't think a lot of people, because they're not used to like looking into the comics and seeing all this really weird abstract stuff, I think that's one of the reasons why there's like a big disconnect.
Well, and it was so busy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There was so much going on. There was, the intergalactic dust mites, the cotton candy, the exploding prism colors. There was just so much going on in the whole thing that it didn't work for me at all. That my Ant-Man equivalent was the quantum realm, where he shrunk down so small and it got all like those fractured, like almost kaleidoscopy kind of look to it.
They showed that in the movie too, which was, I thought, a really nice connect. When he first met the Ancient One, and the Ancient One kind of knocked him through all these different astral planes. That was one of the dimensions that they went through, was the quantum realm. So I thought that was a really nice connect.
Yeah, I think it can be done right. I think Ant-Man was so-so in terms of that. I think Doctor Strange, obviously, we're not huge fans of when it comes to certain visual elements. But certain movies, and like Avengers, they do colors very well. You can do a contrast. In space, you see a little bit of it in Guardians of the Galaxy. There's a nice variety there from the spectrum, and it looks clean and polished. And this is unfocused and messy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it was to me, is that there was too much. There's other visual elements in Doctor Strange that I thought were quite good. I loved when they were having that chase scene through the city.
Oh, yeah.
And the city just kept folding in on itself, and when Doctor Strange is running along that catwalk and the cars are tipping and things are spinning down inside of themselves, and like they'd get to the end of a building and then it would kind of flop down, and so they're running down the other side except it's flat. Like those elements worked really, really well for me.
That's a great shot too that you're pulling up on screen now with everything kind of falling in on itself. I thought that was pretty stunning, that sequence towards the middle of the movie. Overall, they did a nice job executing this because that couldn't have been easy to do, and it looked like it was well produced, whereas other things did not meet this standard.
And when I saw it, my first thought was like, oh, Marvel Inception.
Totally, I was going to say that.
It was that kind of thing, but it worked in context to me. The chase scene was it was so well done, and they were just flopping, and they end up in a windowsill, and then they flop again, and I thought that was super cool. Allowed for a great moment of fun with Stan Lee's cameo.
Yes.
And the whole world tips, and there's Stan Lee in the bus. You can't have. I can't say enough about those. Those to me are one of my favorite little moments in all of the Marvel movies. Are Stan Lee's.
We should do a series on the elements that make these movies stand out a little bit, and I think that's one of them. So food for thought for another time, but the comical feel with him making those cameos are just hilarious.
Yeah,
it's just awesome.
And it's a nice shout out for when like my kid is behind the camera here and 24 years old. He and I go see all these things together and stuff. But when you guys have your own children along the way, Stan Lee's obviously not going to last forever. Who knows? He might, but. You'll be able to point that out when you're introducing them to the geek world and say, oh, this is the guy that invented these characters,
built it all.
So it's a fun little thing. The third element that I thought was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. Was all of the kind of magic weapons and things like that. My favorite of the group was the when they had the sling rings on. And you had to spin your finger to make the hole, and it like made the sparks around
like a saw.
The whole thing.
I thought any kind of like weapon, or like you said, the sling rings, the transporter rings. I thought any of those
transporter rings are actually they're on Star Trek. Yeah, these were sling rings. Apparently you sling in Doctor Strange and you transport in Star Trek.
All right,
I got your back, buddy.
But any of those effects with the sparks, I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah,
because they looked so lifelike. It looked like somebody just had like a sparkler on a string, and they were just like spinning it in a circle.
Yeah,
and those were a few of my favorite moments in the film. Is like when he's all of a sudden got to call up a hole in the middle of things, and like now, through it, and so I enjoyed those. The shields that turned in, and they had their kind of the sparks flying off of them, like you said, very, very sparkler-like. I thought that those were great, and my favorite was the eye of Agamotto. Is that how it's pronounced, Agamotto? The green thing, and it kind of wraps around him, and the little snaky kind of thing. I thought that was like the green was a nice contrast.
Yeah.
To the other stuff.
I was just going to say, I think that made it for me, because that could have been a different color, would have looked cool, but this green kind of makes it, and it was one of the better parts. You can kind of see on the last slide and this one how intricate it is, because it's not just a flash of visual effects. If you pause it like you did in this still, and you can look and see all the intricacies of the weapon.
Yeah.
It's pretty well done.
Yeah.
It's articulate.
And that was one of my favorite scenes in the whole thing, too, when he's in the dark dimension with his little time warpy thing, and great fun. Great fun.
I didn't necessarily like how what was that guy's name? Kind of like the librarian guy. Was it like Wong? I didn't like how he had to like say that the Eye of Agamotto is like actually an Infinity Stone. Because we could pretty much figure it out that it's obviously the Time Stone.
I like that though. I think it wasn't. It didn't feel like it was terribly out of context in terms of like, hey guys, this is an Infinity Stone.
Oh no, yeah, but I don't know. There's something about it where like we all know by now, and maybe it's just because like in order to like view this as a separate movie from like the Marvel universe, it's nice to have that. But like as a viewer that has been watching since like the beginning, we know that obviously this is going to be like the time stone. So you don't need to necessarily say it. But I can see where you're coming from in terms of like a whole separate movie.
I was never growing up, I was never a Doctor Strange reader.
Oh, neither was I.
So I probably would have missed that if they didn't point it out.
I think I would have too, and I hate to say that, but I feel like when they said it, I kind of turned to my wife and went, "Oh yeah, the Infinity Stone," you know, like
Right.
what this whole thing is about, really, in the general scheme of things. But I thought it was a good job standing alone while wrapping it to the MCU.
And it's a super nice version of Green Lantern Green, a favorite here at the Geekiverse.
I was gonna say,
the Green Lantern. One of our favorite colors. So there's our. One last thing, real quick. Another one of my favorite visual effects in the whole thing was the astral beam, particularly when the Ancient One just kind of punches him in the chest and he bounces out of his own back.
yeah.
Like I thought that was super cool. And then later, when like they have the fight in the emergency room,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the two astral beings, just cool, well done effects. When he's having the conversation with his girlfriend there, or his ex-girlfriend,
Rachel McAdams' character.
right?
Yeah.
You know, great fun, and I thought it looked pretty well done and everything as well.
I think so too, because that could have been another tipping point where it didn't quite. Couldn't have been up to snuff, I guess.
It could have been Ghostbustery.
Yeah.
Or like Casper or something. That's
Yeah.
kind of what it reminded me of. But
I think they did a good job with it because it was funny, it looked good, and it was a good dynamic for the film to have, I think.
yeah.
And overall, the sets I think were well done. The
Yep.
different places. The his costume was fantastic. The cape was just such a fun little thing that not only did the cape do its thing, but it had its own personality and everything like that. And you know, that was the animation on that was very well done as well. When it like attacks the guy in the hallway,
Yeah.
just a great scene. You know.
My wife loved that, actually. She goes, how does Marvel do that? I go, what are you talking about? She goes, it makes me care about inanimate objects. I wanted to just take that cape and cuddle it. I loved it. The personality, how it was loyal to him and it would go kick someone's ass. I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
We now care about Doctor Strange's cape.
And overall, I thought that the visual elements of the whole thing were able to carry it. It was just that one pretty big thing that kind of disturbed me.
Super important.
The different dimensions.
Yeah, right. Like the mirror dimension, super cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I think overall, I would say about 90% of it, they did a great job. They knocked it out of the park, up to par. That one scene, because of its importance, makes it really that much bigger. And unfortunately, wasn't where it needed to be.
Right, and like it was enough to pull me out of the moment to go, wow.
I lost immersion for
Yeah,
sure.
Not so good at that.
I agree.
So
And his accent too. He's like super British, and it was just like
Benedict?
a really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just such a good like New York accent.
Yeah, he was awesome. That's for sure.
overall, good film.
Yeah.
So that's our thoughts on just the visual elements. We're going to have a bunch of other podcasts and such on Doctor Strange coming soon, or maybe even before this one comes out. But we wanted to touch on that one. We were able to show you these elements as we went through it as well. I'm kind of excited for the new addition to the Marvel universe, and I think that visually it's gonna be a big carry for it. Other than that one thing. So I enjoyed adding Ant-Man. I enjoyed now adding Doctor Strange. So the Generation 2 is
I agree.
we're having great fun. So. You can find us, all the rest of our stuff. This is our YouTube channel. Stick with us. We're going to have all sorts of new content on that. We have I'm wearing this spiffy Geekiverse t-shirt. Over in the corner we have our best-selling tee, the Straight Outta Arkham t-shirt, suitable for all exes. With Christmas coming, it's perfect if you buy your ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend or ex-wife something. This is the perfect gift. Comes in all sizes, and you can find that at
thegeekiverse.storeenvy.com.
yeah.
It's Storeenvy with one E.
We'll put the link down below, and stick with us. We got a lot of stuff coming up in the next couple months. A lot of great releases and stuff that we're excited to talk about. We'll catch you soon.
Perfect timing for the train.
All right, guys. I don't even care about it anymore.
No,
Do you want me
you're
to
in the
go first?
baseball
I'm
bit.
Yes, I'm the lead batter.
Yes.
Wonder Woman was appointed honorary ambassador to the United Nations. What? This is like Stephen Colbert testifying in front of Congress in character. Like, what is that? Now, come on. There are so many wonderfully strong women in the world that they could have chose somebody who's not fictional. That's my